You know that sensory betrayal when you take a huge gulp from a water glass and,
Yeah.
well, a second later you realize it's actually white vinegar.
Oh, yeah, the absolute worst. Your brain just completely short circuits.
Right. And that total brain and taste bud mismatch is exactly where we're starting today's deep dive. We're exploring the, tart, historical, and surprisingly resilient world of rhubarb for you.
Yeah, and we have a really fun way in today. We're using a Danish story about two boys, Steen and Kesser. It's a great shortcut to understanding this totally bizarre plant.
It really is. So the whole mishap starts when Steen gets a bundle of fresh rhubarb from a neighbor. Beautiful stalks, right?
Yeah.
Red, fading into green. And before he even bikes home, he takes this massive bite.
Because he assumes it's going to taste sweet, like candy floss.
Exactly. And naturally, he gets this massive face-puckering shock. I mean, we all know rhubarb is tart, but that extreme reaction is actually a chemical defense mechanism, right? The
Yeah.
oxalic acid.
Precisely. So raw rhubarb stalks are just loaded with oxalic acid. That's what gives you that highly astringent, sour punch. But, that chemistry also brings up a pretty critical safety boundary from the sources.
Oh, right, the leaves.
Yeah, the leaves. The sources are super clear that you only ever eat the stalks. Those giant, crinkly green leaves are basically solar panels for the plant, but they harbor really toxic levels of that oxalic acid.
So it's almost like a booby-trapped vegetable. The colorful stalk draws you in, but the canopy powering it is strictly off limits.
Definitely do not eat the leaves. But, that intense astringency in the stalk is actually why we cook it the way we do.
Right, you pair it with calcium-rich dairy, like heavy cream or a big scoop of ice cream, because the calcium ions physically bind to the acid. It,
Yeah.
chemically neutralizes the tartness.
Which is basically flavor magic. It transforms a really harsh bite into this rich, balanced dessert. And once Steen figures this out, that this super sour stalk is the ultimate partner for strawberries and cream, he is hooked.
He immediately wants a plant for his new no-dig kitchen garden, which makes a lot of sense, right?
Oh, absolutely. Because with no dig, he's trying to build soil structure with compost instead of constantly tilling or turning it over. And since rhubarb is a perennial, it just stays put.
But it's not exactly a low-maintenance plant, is it? I
Yeah.
mean, it requires incredibly rich soil and a massive amount of water.
Yeah, tons of water because those giant toxic leaves evaporate moisture incredibly fast.
Mhm.
If you don't water it enough, the stalks just turn into these tough, unchewable strings.
Oh, gross.
Right. And it's funny, technically, it's a vegetable. It actually started as an ancient Asian medicinal plant. It didn't even make its way into Danish gardens until around 1835 at Rosenborg Castle.
Wow, so pretty late in history.
Mm.
So given that history and the massive root system it grows, I'm guessing Steen can't just, toss a cheap packet of seeds into his no-dig bed and call it a day.
Definitely not. The story actually highlights the real method for this, which is propagation by division. Kesser explains to him that in the autumn, you have to take an established massive root block and literally drive a sharp spade right through it.
Just chop it right in half?
Exactly. But the trick is making sure every piece you slice off has at least one little bud on it to generate the new shoots.
The sheer physical labor of that sounds intense and kind of hilarious in this story.
Yeah, Kesser actually laughs and points out that a mature root is so incredibly dense and anchored, they might need to borrow the neighbor's tractor just to rip the mother plant out of the dirt.
I love that. Two kids trying to wrangle a tractor for some rhubarb. But the work doesn't stop at the planting, does it? Once it's divided and replanted, you hit this really strict waiting period.
A painful waiting period. You have to let the plant establish itself for 2 to 3 years before you can actually do a full harvest.
2 to 3 years.
Yeah. Until then, Steen just has to rely on Kesser sharing stalks from his own plant.
That's a funny dynamic. Just begging your buddy for some rhubarb while you stare at your own plant doing nothing. But when the time finally comes to harvest, the rules are really specific, aren't they?
Very. The sources are adamant about this. You have to pull the stalks cleanly from the base. You never, ever cut them with a knife.
Wait, why? What happens if you cut it?
It's purely protective. If you
Mhm.
slice a stalk with a knife, you leave behind this fleshy little stump, and that stump will inevitably rot.
Oh, and that just spreads.
Right. It acts like an open door for disease to travel straight down into the root system. So pulling it cleanly completely prevents that infection.
That makes total sense. We've really traced rhubarb from a sour shock on the palate to, well, a masterclass in agricultural chemistry and serious patience.
The patience is key, but the longevity is the real payoff. You endure the tough division, the precise harvesting, the 3-year wait, and in return, you get a plant that can thrive in the exact same spot for up to 25 years.
A 25-year lifespan completely shifts how you think about a backyard garden.
It really does. It's
Yeah.
a true long-term commitment.
Right. In a modern world built entirely around next-day delivery and instant gratification, consider what it really means to plant a vegetable today that you won't fully harvest for 3 years, yet could realistically outlast a generation. What are you cultivating right now that's actually worth the wait? Just, don't take a raw bite out of it expecting candy floss.